Somebody in this place today has been feeling the weight, the pressure, the resistance, and the bumps in the road. You've been praying, you've been fasting, you've been crying in the midnight hour, and still it seems like the storm just won't let up. But let me tell you something, beloved. Those bumps are not the end of your story. They are a sign that you are getting closer to your brighter. You see, when a plane takes off, the turbulence doesn't show up at the gate. It shows up when you're climbing in. Hey, that bump, that setback, that delay, it's just the enemy trying to shake you because he knows you're on your way to destiny. Don't you dare give up now. Don't let the bump in the road make you believe you're going backwards. No, no, no. This is just a detour on the way to deliverance. It's just the pain before the promise. You are not buried, you are planted, and God is about to water that seed with breakthrough power. So get ready. Look at your neighbor and say, this bump is a bill of sanding in disguise. Because baby, you are closer than you've ever been before. When you're getting closer to something great, when you're on the verge of the very thing you've been praying for, working for, and believing God for, the resistance doesn't ease up. It intensifies. The pressure gets heavier. The obstacles seem to multiply. And for many, that pressure feels like a sign to retreat. But what if I told you that resistance is not a sign you're going the wrong way? It's actually confirmation that you're headed straight toward destiny. See, the enemy doesn't bother what isn't a threat. He doesn't resist people standing still. He fights those who are moving, those who are progressing, those who are walking with purpose and vision. Just like in the natural, when you're walking toward a closed door, you don't feel the pressure, but try opening it, try pushing it open when something's on the other side resisting. And suddenly, you know you're close to a threshold. This is where many people miss it. They feel the resistance and assume it means to stop. But resistance is the bodybuilder's best friend. It is the friction that builds the muscle of your faith. It's the pressure that refines your character. And most importantly, it's the indicator you're pressing up against something that matters. You don't feel that kind of fight at the beginning of the journey. It comes when you're close, when the promise is in reach, when the healing is almost here, when the breakthrough is just on the other side. God will often allow that resistance not to stop you, but to strengthen you. Because the door he's opening for you requires a stronger, wiser, more tenacious version of you to walk through it. That's why people get frustrated right before their blessing. That's why it gets lonelier, heavier, more confusing, not because you're off track, but because you're about to cross over. The enemy wants to wear you down just inches away from the miracle. He wants to trick you into thinking the pain is punishment, when in fact it's preparation. So don't panic when it gets harder. Don't run when it gets heavy. Lean into the resistance, because resistance means proximity. You're not far off. You're pressing against the very door that's about to open. There's something powerful that happens when everything seems to fall apart right before something amazing comes together. Most people see a setback and immediately assume failure, but in the spiritual realm, a setback is often heaven's way of setting the stage for comeback. God is strategic, he's not random. And when you face delays, denials, disappointments, it's not because he's forgotten you, it's because he's setting you up for something greater than you can see in the moment. What looks like a detour is often a divine reroute. What feels like rejection is really redirection. The setback is simply God rearranging circumstances, shifting relationships, or pruning you of what can't go with you to the next level. You see, we serve a God who turns graves into gardens, who takes what the enemy meant for evil and flips it for your good. But before the miracle comes the mess. Before the platform comes the pressure. Before the breakthrough comes the breaking. And too many people give up in the middle of the setup because they misinterpret the silence, the struggle, and the setbacks. They think God has abandoned them, when in reality, he's working behind the curtain, organizing a blessing that requires the delay. Sometimes he has to hold you back so that when you arrive, you're not just there, you're ready. The truth is, breakthroughs don't come on mountaintops, they're born in valleys. The wilderness seasons teach you how to trust. The disappointments teach you how to discern. The closed doors teach you how to wait. Every loss, every betrayal, every unanswered prayer was a part of the blueprint. You just couldn't see it at the time, but God was setting up a scene where the glory would be undeniable. The same people who counted you out will have to watch God elevate you. The same situation that threatened to break you will end up building your testimony. But if you quit during the setup, you forfeit the story. So instead of despising the setback, ask yourself, what is God setting me up for? Instead of focusing on what you lost, start looking for what he's preparing. The greater the setback, the more significant the setup. And when God sets you up, no devil in hell, no mistake in your past, no opinion from people can cancel what he's about to release in your life. There's a reason the ride gets rougher when you're climbing higher. Ask any pilot, and they'll tell you that turbulence doesn't usually hit when the plane is on the runway. It shows up when you're gaining altitude. That's how you know you're going somewhere. The shaking, the bumps, the sudden jolts, those aren't signs that something's wrong. They're evidence that you've taken off. The same is true in life. When you start rising, when you break free from the patterns, the people, the places that kept you grounded, the turbulence comes. It's not meant to scare you. It's there to prepare you. The enemy doesn't come after people who are standing still. He targets those who are elevating, those who are breaking cycles, stepping into purpose, and aligning with God's plan. It's easy to feel like the shaking means something's gone wrong, but in reality, turbulence is just part of the process of lifting. Spiritually, emotionally, mentally, you don't grow in calm weather. You grow in the shaking. And the more intense the turbulence, the more certain you can be that you've left one altitude and are climbing to the next. That resistance in the atmosphere is your confirmation. You're no longer where you were. And while it might feel unstable for a moment, what's ahead is worth the momentary shaking. God never called you to stay comfortable. He called you to move, to rise, to expand. And every time you get ready to go higher, you'll feel the friction. You'll feel the tension between where you've been and where he's taking you. That's the test of trust. Can you keep moving when everything in your flesh wants to pull back? Can you stay focused when the winds start to blow? Because turbulence doesn't stop the plane. It doesn't mean you've lost control. It just means you're passing through a different layer of atmosphere. The pressure, the force, the noise, it's all part of the transition. And if you don't understand that, you'll start to panic in the process. But if you've been through this enough times, you'll start to recognize the shaking. You'll say, wait a minute, I've felt this before, and every time it meant something powerful was on the other side. So the next time the road gets rough, the next time the pressure increases, remind yourself, this is turbulence, not trouble. You're not being punished. You're being promoted. You're not being shaken to fall. You're being shaken to rise. God is elevating you. And with every bump, he's reminding you you're in motion, you're in flight, and you're headed somewhere greater than you've ever been. Pain has a way of showing up uninvited, interrupting your plans, your comfort, and sometimes your confidence. But what many fail to understand is that pain is not just suffering. It's signaling. It's the indicator that something is shifting, something is stretching, something is about to be born. Before purpose can be revealed, pain often has to be endured. There is no resurrection without crucifixion, no crown without a cross, no destiny without discomfort. The very things that hurt you are often the things that God uses to shape you, mold you, and make you strong enough to carry the weight of your calling. Pain teaches what comfort never could. It reveals who you are at the core. It strips away the layers of pride, of performance, of pretending, and it forces you to face what's real in those moments of brokenness. When everything seems uncertain and your soul feels raw, purpose begins to whisper. That's where you learn what you're made of. That's where you find out what you truly believe. That's where the fire of your calling is refined. God uses pain to prepare you, not because he's cruel, but because he's committed. He won't send you into purpose underdeveloped. So he allows the pressure, he allows the tears, he allows the crushing, not to destroy you, but to reveal what's inside of you. Just like a seed has to be buried before it grows, so must your potential go through the dark before it can come to light. That dark place, that lonely place, that painful place, it's not your permanent address. It's the womb of your assignment. The process may not feel good, but it's doing something good in you. And if you can hold on through the pain, if you can trust that God is still in control, even when nothing makes sense, you'll come out with something more valuable than comfort. You'll come out with clarity, compassion, and conviction. That kind of strength only comes through struggle. Some of your greatest purpose will come from the things you thought were meant to break you. That loss, that betrayal, that illness, that failure, it didn't come to bury you. It came to birth you, to birth a new mindset, to birth a new level of faith, to birth a deeper understanding of your assignment. God never wastes pain. Every tear has purpose. Every scar tells a story. And when he allows you to walk through pain, it's because he's confident that what's on the other side is worth it. When you're nearing your breakthrough, the opposition doesn't back off. It intensifies. The closer you get to what God has promised you, the more aggressive the enemy becomes. That pressure you feel, that tension in your spirit, that sudden wave of discouragement, confusion, or spiritual fatigue. It's not random. It's a targeted attack meant to derail you just before you cross the finish line. The enemy knows he can't stop what God has ordained, but he hopes to convince you to quit before it manifests. He fights the hardest when the victory is the closest because he senses the shift. He sees the anointing increasing. He hears the rumble of change in the spirit realm. And just like Herod tried to kill Jesus at birth, not at the cross, but at the beginning, the enemy often attacks when the promise is still fragile, still forming, still taking root. That's why spiritual warfare feels the most intense right before something is about to break loose. It's like contractions before delivery. The pain increases, the pressure builds, and you know something is about to be born. The enemy isn't omniscient, but he can smell purpose. He can sense momentum. And the moment you start walking in alignment with heaven, the moment your obedience starts carrying weight in the kingdom, the attacks become more personal. But the fight isn't a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you're carrying something powerful. The enemy doesn't bother people who are going nowhere. But when you start tearing down strongholds, breaking generational cycles, stepping into your calling, that's when the warfare hits differently. The key is not to retreat, but to recognize the pattern, to see the attack not as a stop sign, but as a signal that you must push harder in prayer, stand firmer in faith, and dig deeper into the word. The battle is not the end, it's the bridge, it's the path between the promise spoken and the promise fulfilled. God never promised the road would be easy, but he did promise it would be worth it. And while the enemy is throwing everything he has to stop you, God is using every blow to build you. Every hit is shaping your endurance. Every storm is refining your faith. Every delay is strengthening your character. So when the enemy fights hard, you fight harder. Not in your strength, but in the strength of the one who already won. Victory was settled at the cross, and your breakthrough is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Don't misread the fight. Don't surrender to fatigue. What you're up against is just confirmation. What you're about to walk into is bigger than you imagined.